All praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. And I want to talk about this CK situation that's gone on, right? This CK and this university unalivement thing that happened, and speak about how now it's starting to become more and more obvious as to why somehow they was making a push to try and make this about us, right? They was trying to somehow make a E on E crime be related to us in some way, right? And it's turned out that this guy CK, before he was yeah, he'd been offered 150 million. This is the information that's coming out, right? That he'd been offered 150 million by a President Small Hat, man, right? He'd been offered 150 million by the President Small Hat, and he refused it, right? And obviously the 150 million, if this story is to be believed, that was a bribe, right? And then he was offered to come to the land of the small hats, and he rejected that as well, right? Basically showing I ain't rocking with y'all. So they obviously would have been offended by this. And you know what, man? If you're to believe this story, which I think it makes sense, but either way it goes, man, when you watch that video, right? They, like, I'm gonna use a street terminology, man. They lined him up, man, right? He got lined up, bro. That guy got lined up, man are behind him, doing all these arm movements and all that, grabbing on caps and all this, right? There's one next geezer to the right hand side of him with his arm all close underneath his armpit. And then at the moment when you hear that sound go off, you're seeing the flashes coming from underneath his armpit. What the hell is that? Then you got one next guy in front of him, looking like he's pointing something at him in the crowd, right? Looking like he's pointing something at him in the crowd, man. Like he had a dabble and had a go as well, man. Right? They lined him up, man. Like I personally, which I could be wrong, but I personally think that guy is really in the spiritual world, man. I think he's really up there, finding out that when he comes back down, he's gonna work for the same people that he was coming up with all these stats about, man. He's gonna be owned by them. But it makes sense now as to why somehow with this whole scenario, right? They somehow tried to take the scent off of what was happening amongst E and make it about us, because there was a whole lot of dirty things that took place in regard to that scenario, man. Right now, let me go to this and stop running my mouth. Let's go to this, man. Psalm chapter 50 and verse 20. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. And that's what's happened with this situation, because it's literally got nothing to do with us. When two drill rappers on alive themselves, he don't want to take the blame, even though he is connected in that some way, because he gives these people money to make these records, man. He give them a record deal based on making music like that. If he said whenever one of these drill rappers came up with that music and was like, yo, you know what, I ain't making y'all become rich off this. You ain't getting no record deal. You better sing some nice songs, man. You better talk about love. You better talk about loving your brother. Then I'll give you a record deal. But all this, my strap go off, my rap go off, my clap go off, bap, 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 snap go off, all that. If you start coming with all of that, I ain't giving you no record deal. You're going to be poor messing with me. But that's not how he does it though, is it? When he hears that song, he's like, ooh, that's quite a catchy. Ooh, so you said you went down his block, you slid it round, you slid back. Ooh, and and now you're smoking on him. That's a bit of a, I could get down with that. I could get jiggy with that. Hanky panky and all that. Yeah. That's how they do. They don't get offended by that kind of music. They love it. I could picture old E's dancing like they got a stick up their back to that King Von and all that kind of music, man. I could picture that. Like, ooh, I love when they talk about on alive and each other. I love it, mate. It's cracking. Crack on, Basil. I could picture them getting down to that music, man. Rapping the words, driving on it. while to go to church on a Sunday on a Sunday morning, man. I could picture E doing that, man. Like I've got a thing that I think about in my mind sometimes that I think is quite funny. That when I picture Esau himself, like E, the original E, the first and the foremost, man, the first one, the one that got that lost the birthright, man. I picture him sometimes with a string vest on and a do rag, man. I don't picture him. Obviously, people didn't wear that kind of stuff back then, but I picture him sometimes in a like, was he really the fogged out one, man? That's what I think about E. That he was really the fog man, wearing a do rag and a string vest, right? Because we would have wore head coverings and stuff like that. And I picture E sometimes with a do rag, man. And I picture Lamech. Like when I remember when one of the elders he brought out how Lamech was basically rapping about how he was able to honor live people, man. And I was like, raw. I started picturing Lamech with like with a do rag on and a string vest and gold tee and a gold tuff, man. But looking like an Edomite. I started picturing him like that, man, because they're really the thugs. They're really the gangsters, man. All you Jakes, that's for all these YNs, man, that are talking all this. Yo, we got switches. We got switches. Don't even come down to the hood. The hood ain't gonna do nothing against what Esau's got, man. Now, let me use a scenario to let you put it into perspective. How no, you ain't like let's just go back to the time when the Native Americans were battling against E. They had the better knowledge of the land, right? It was more equal in warfare back then when they would have been having bow and arrows and axes and stuff like that, right? It was more of an equal playing field then. They was on their home front playing defense, right? Esau was on offense, but they was on defense. They had the land, they had the understanding of how to live there. They had better understanding of how to survive in the winter, right? And they, which are one of our warrior tribes, Gad, they weren't able to take Esau down physically, man. They weren't able to take him down carnally. Now, I want to quickly mention some information about that I found out through some searches that I was doing on the AI about the Native Americans and how he did them during that time. And it said that it was going into how in the early 15th century, right, that he was acknowledging that the Native Americans are the children of Israel. And he had this whole thing called the Doctrine of Discovery. And it was acknowledging that the Native Americans are the children of Israel and saying, oh, yeah, but they're the children of Israel, but they've fell into paganism. Which, guess what? He wasn't wrong in saying that's the case, because they had fell into paganism, right? They had fell into paganism and they were going off in the land of America, right? When they was dwelling them amongst themselves, they were going off, man. They weren't keeping the laws perfectly, which is why how it allowed Esau to take them down. But the fact that he acknowledged that they were the children of Israel made him think, oh, what I'm doing is not wicked. It's a divine punishment, which again, he was somewhat right about that, man. And I've copy and pasted all the information that I got from that AI conversation. And I'm gonna, Lord will do a video on that specifically, right? And read all the things that I found out. But like he was not wrong about how they had fell into paganism, and what he did was divine judgment. Now, let me get this quickly, because it said, gather troops shall overcome him, but he's going to overcome them at the last, right? That's the future prophecy that they was going to go through. Genesis chapter 49 and verse 19, gather troops shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. And God went through that, man. Now, I also found out that during the same time that he was calling the Native Americans Israelites and saying, oh, what's happening to them is a divine punishment, and that they're worthy though, because they are the children of Israel, they're the lost tribes, they're also worthy to go through conversion. And that's why he was beating the hell out of them and trying to convert them to Christianity. But here's the thing, the scriptures was only for them anyway. If he actually had an understanding of the Bible, he would have known that an Edomite, which they are, cannot try and convert an Israelite to believing in the Messiah. So they may, but then also what I found out that was interesting is that they, as well as comparing the Israelites to the Israelites, I mean calling the Native Americans Israelites, They were also calling the Native American Indians the Gadites, really, which is who they really are. They were also calling them the Canaanites and saying, oh, we're purging you out of your land, out of a land that you have not been living in righteously, right? And they was calling it New Canaan. They was calling it New English Canaan. So they was ultimately just saying whatever they had to say to try and steal the land, and they were considering and acknowledging that the Native Americans were Israelites. But nowadays they want to try and say, oh, that was just a mistake, and they were just saying that. They were just saying that stuff to try and get the land and usurp it. No, they were telling the truth when they said that the Native American Indians, the Gadites, were the Israelites, right? But they were telling a lie when they said that they were Canaanites, and they must have realized after they went into the scriptures to try and justify themselves, they realized, oh, if we said it to the Israelites, then we can't really justify stealing their land. So let's say that they're the Canaanites instead, and later on we'll say that they're not the Israelites as well, and that they're not even that. We'll call them something else. We'll call them savages. So there was acknowledge, like, this is the thing, they were acknowledging that they were Israelites. So all this talk, and that's why they brought over, when you hear about these stories of them coming over to the lands, they brought over Hebrew interpreters. They acknowledged that the Native Americans were Israelites. They acknowledged that the Native American Indians were keeping a diluted form of keeping the scriptures. They acknowledged this. The Puritans, that's the information that came up. The Puritans were acknowledging that the Native Americans were keeping a diluted form of keeping the laws of God. They acknowledged that they were not just savages. They was really acknowledging that these people are not savages, because if they're calling the people Native Americans, right? I mean, it's calling the people Israelites, right? That's acknowledging that the people have a history. And if they're calling the people Canaanites, that's also acknowledging that the people have a history. You understand? So all this stuff of them trying to make out like they were just savages and they were just no people and that. No, these were lies, man. And they justified, they acknowledged that they were Israelites, and then they just said, oh, because they're not keeping the laws, we're allowed to punish them and chastise them, which is true. That's actually true, man. And Judith, the 5th chapter, goes into that. When the Israelites are not doing, and in fact, I'll get it. When the Israelites are not doing what they're supposed to do according to the Lord, they can be judged. But when they are doing what you're supposed to do according to the Lord, you can't do anything against them. Judith chapter 5 and verse 17. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered, because God, the God that hateth iniquity, was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by their enemies. Now, all these people that always want to talk about the history of America, blah, 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 and all of this, how come they don't ever mention that part nowadays? That they acknowledge that the Native Americans were Israelites and still harmed them? Would that not have been anti this and anti that back then? Would that not have been it? How comes the small hats don't say, hang on, these people that are calling themselves Americans used to acknowledge that these people were the lost tribes, and we haven't acknowledged who the lost tribes are. So if those are our brothers, that's anti this and anti that. They ain't going to say that, because they know that those people really are the Israelites, and they know that they themselves are not the Israelites, that they're faking to be the Israelites, man. And that's why no matter how much favor has been shown to them, they're always doing wickedness, and that's why they have to try and take away people's freedom to speak, because they know that they're not doing right. So they have to make it illegal to question anything that they do. Oh, it's illegal to question me on anything, when that's not the power that the Israelites are supposed to be usurping over the earth. The Israelites are supposed to be using their power to make everyone keep the laws. The same way how these small hats are using their power to try and make everyone not be able to speak about anything. No, that's the power that they're supposed to be putting over the earth. If they really were the children of Israel, that is. That's the power that they should be using to make everyone keep God's commandments. But they're clearly not those people, because they ain't even keeping them themselves. Right? Neither are they trying to. Neither are they even in their own land first, trying to make that be the law of their land. Yet somehow they got all this influence in countries like America, but they ain't even trying to make in their own land. Them keep the laws over in their own land first. Yet they're trying to worry about what's going on in America, which is supposedly the most powerful country in the world that doesn't like anybody else telling them what to do. Yet somehow the small hats can tell them what to do. Isn't it fascinating? And it's really because the people that are called small hats are really Amalek. And even when you go through the scriptures, and even when I asked AI yesterday, are Amalekites, Edomites, and it had the nerve and the audacity to tell me no, they're not. And I was like, not having it, man. And I was like, yeah, they are. Yes, they are, man. But when you ask AI the question, are Amalek, and if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. Ask the AI, are Amalekites, Edomites, and it will tell you no, they're not. It will tell you they're two distinct peoples, which is not true. Amalek is just a tribe of Esau, just like how Judah is just a tribe of Israel, right? If I was to ask the question, are people from the tribe of Judah Israelites? If AI says no, it's a damn lie. But it wouldn't say no in that regard, and it's heavy because Amalek and the rest of the tribes of Esau try and separate themselves now. And that's why hear people say, it's not us, it's the small hats doing it. Whereas before they used to say, it's not us, it's the elites, right? And now you're noticing that the rest of the tribes of E are trying to also steal that, oh, it's not us, and you can't say anything about us either. They're trying to come with their own version of that as well now, man. You can't even laugh at a so-called white man passing, being on a lot. You can't. They're trying it too. And I want to say this as well on this whole CK situation, man. This whole CK situation made Esau realize this, right? It made him realize that he's not gonna be mourned like he thought he was if he leaves the earth, because this CK guy, in most of these E's mind, was a good one of them. That was like what people would strive to be. That's like the E life. You just go around talking, and you can poetically and you snake tonguely talk about how much you hate Israelites and get paid for it, and never have to lift a finger to actually do anything physical about it, and can just make all these things come to pass. That was like their dream life, and then he came to an untimely demise, and they lined him up. By the way, as far as I'm concerned, man, they lined his ass up, man. Right? They weren't trying to have him with his long up self running his mouth. They weren't trying to have that. That's what I've seen anyway. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 2, behold, I have made these small, and ultimately it doesn't even really matter. That's not like the be all and end all of what Esau is going to go through. They're going to go through Obadiah 1 and 18. So one loss of them is not really, who cares? Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 2, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. And that's what they felt when they saw that people didn't care that that man passed away, that he wasn't around no more. It was like, oh, I thought we were loved though. I thought the world would stop moving if we didn't exist anymore. And just the fact that he thinks that is ridiculous, because if you look at all the stuff that China's doing with technology, they're more advanced than E. So all this talk about, oh, if we weren't around no more, the world would stop. Y'all aren't even in China that much as a people, and it's flowing pretty well without you. So all of this talk of y'all be able to do this and do that, no, you're not telling the truth. You're just lying. We've got plenty of people among our nation that can do things in the technology and in the mechanical world. It's just we ain't got the funding to go about doing it our way. We've never had the opportunity because of how everyone comes up against us with the sword, and we don't have the sword to defend ourselves against these modernized versions of the sword now. We don't have the ability to defend ourselves, to be able to have the time available to assess these things and analyze these things in our way, in the Israelite way, man, which is the highest way of all ways. We haven't been given that opportunity to have our potential unhindered yet. Whereas in the kingdom, we're gonna have unhindered potential. All the greatness that we are is gonna be able to flow out of us, and no one's gonna be able to stop any of it, man. No one's going to be able to stop us from showing who we really are in that time. Verse 3, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And they're starting to realize that their own selves are bringing them down, man. We don't even have to do anything. All this information that I'm saying about regarding this CK situation, that's not from Jake. That's not from Mo. It's not from Moab. It's not from Ishmael. It's from E. I've seen all kind of videos where E's breaking it down, man. He's like, oh, yo, look at this guy in the back down here. You see that, what he's doing? That's this, and this. Oh, and look at this guy here. You see under his armpit? You see? Let me slow it down and rewind it back. And let me slow it down. Let me go 0.25 speed. You see that flash under his armpit? Oh, and look at this guy in the crowd with the sunglasses. And this guy, they look at each other right at the moment. And then he don't move for 15 seconds. And then they jumps over the barrier. And then you realize, oh, he's part of the security team. Like, that's not from us, because E knows the secret language of E. Other E's know the secret language of E more than we know it, man. We know what we know how we deal with each other and how we can talk in our coded way. And that's why E likes getting a 2/3 to try and decipher the coding of how we talk, man. That's why a certain Kango wearer has always keeps him a local coon around, man. He's always got a local coon, and he'll use them to try and decipher certain things about us that he can't properly understand, man. He stays with a hair hatted with Eve around him, man, and some sellout Jake. He keeps one, he always keeps one in the chamber in regard to them kind of sellouts, man, so that they can kind of decipher, or what does that mean? What did he mean by that? Verse 10, for violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So all the talk of how they're trying to blame, mate, you did what you did to us. We never told you to do it. You did it. And you're going to have to stomach what you did in your lifetime against us. You ain't going to be able to blame us for what you did to us. That's on you. You ain't going to be able to say, you sold your own people. That would not, even if that was true, that would not excuse what you did to the people that was sold to you. That would not excuse it. Because you could have did other things. Just like how Cain could have sacrificed something else instead of vegetables. But he was a stupid demon, and he didn't do that, did he? Esau could have not sold the birthright, couldn't he? Since y'all believe in free will so much, okay, if free will's true, Esau could have not sold the birthright. And if free will ain't true, which I don't believe it is, then Esau had to sell the birthright. So get over it, man. Yeah, you're never getting the birthright back, man. It's not going to happen. Can we live once, bro? Get over it, man. You're not getting the birthright back, ever. It's ours, and it always was. Just get over it. You're never going to have it. Never. And it don't bring no pain in my heart to tell you that. Right? You're never going to have the birthright back, man. And I'm going to end the lesson there. Right? He's starting to realize that he ain't as loved as he thought he was. In fact, let me get this scripture, man. He's starting to realize that he ain't as loved as he thought he was, man. Right? And he's starting to realize, man, the world don't really like us as much as we thought they were. And actually the world would be better off if we weren't here. But we can't allow that. We can't accept that openly. But we know it amongst ourselves. But what are we supposed to do then? Just curl up in a ball and fall away? Obviously not. We've got to do something to stay around. So we're going to blame everyone else. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 16, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Once Esau really falls, people are going to be like, how the hell did this guy able to do all this damage, man? How the hell did this guy manage to pull this off? Look at them now. They that made the world as a wilderness, that destroyed the cities thereof, that opened up the house of the prisoners, and he's getting ready to really destroy the earth, man. I can't believe how all you men in Chicago are really thinking you're going to do something against armies. when your training consists of 5 of you with like you've got a weapon that shoots projectile bullets, and the person that you're chasing after has got nothing, and you think that that means that you're prepared to go against people that have been training in gun ranges to actually shoot the weapons that they've got and know how to reload them, have timed it, and you think that you that's never had to even reload your gun after a shootout, right? And never really had a shootout either. You think that you're somehow trained to go against people that have, like, you're ridiculous. You don't know what you're talking about. You got about 12 bullets if you're lucky, and after that, what you gonna do? Y'all ain't trained in that realm, and that's not your blessing. You can't deal with Esau and his blessing, and he can't deal with us in our blessing, man, which is the scriptures. They can't deal with in the realm of the scriptures, man. We're the ones that are controlling the real understanding of the Bible, and that's why they've all had to try and start copying the Hebrew Israelites. But I'm gonna end the lesson there. Shalom to the nation of Israel. Shalom.